Control, it's an illusion anyway. You don't have it. You think you have control, but you don't, and you never did. And winning, as most people perceive it, that's an illusion too. And surrender factor is that it factor that the red pill, or if you want to call it that, is missing. All right. The name, though, surrendering sounds really uncomfortable. Like nobody wants to surrender to anything. And that's why I like the name, because this is one of those things where you don't do it. If you don't do it, you can't really have this thing I'm talking about, but you're not going to want to do it at first. It's going to be, the idea of it sounds terrible. I don't like the idea of surrendering. I've resisted that for a long time, until very recently, in fact. Okay. So let's talk about the surrender factor. What do I mean? Okay. It starts with outcome independence. So this is good. This is, where a lot of people who would consider themselves red pill are very understanding, or, the real woke. All right. Not the fake leftist woke, or whatever you want to call it. All right. Being outcome independent, having a radical acceptance of facts. All right. And so, but the surrender factor is not just a radical acceptance. It's also where you actually stop trying to win in the sexual marketplace. Hear me out. All right. You don't, and I have an analogy for this. Okay. You don't play the game at all while you participate in the game at the same time. It's like you're above the game. Okay. This is what the surrender factor does for you. And so follow me on this one. All right. Imagine a group of men and women playing a game of suicide dodgeball, right? Where there's no boundaries. They're in a gymnasium, like think of your high school or middle school gym. There's balls everywhere, like they would play for dodgeball, like kids throw at each other back in the day. And all you're doing is picking up a ball, trying to scramble to get one and throw it at somebody else. All right. And so that's it. That's suicide dodgeball. And a bunch of men and women are just playing suicide dodgeball. There are no teams, no boundaries. Everybody runs around, tries to hit somebody else, and somehow try to win at this thing. But here's the thing. Nobody knows exactly what winning means. There hasn't actually been a definition for winning in this game. I mean, what is it? To not get hit? Is that winning? Some people, maybe it's not get hit. Is it to hit the most people? Or maybe it's to hit like people the hardest. You know what I mean? Or maybe it's to hit the same person repeatedly every time, go for the same target every time you get your hands on a ball. Like nobody really knows that's playing this game. But all they're knowing is that they're going around and, trying to hit each other with these dodgeballs. And in the process, they might come up with some rules. All right. Maybe someone decides at some point, hey, when you get a ball, you got to stand in place and throw it instead of chasing people around. All right. Maybe that's something that a bunch of people agree on. So then some people follow the rules and do that. Some people don't. And some people will cheat the rules. Right. So you got people cheating. You've got people not following, total chaos. All right. Chaos. And then you're outcome independent. And you have the surrender factor here, which I'll get more into. And you show up and you decide to take one of the ball, and instead of throwing at someone's face, you just start shooting baskets with it. Remember, you're in a middle school or high school gym, basketball nets are there. You just start shooting baskets, doing your own thing. Maybe you grab a chick or two. Oh, yeah. And you start and you're playing a game of horse, right? And or just casually shooting the ball back and forth. It's your game. You decide what you want to do. Everyone else is playing this game of dodgeball, but you're doing what you want to do. They're playing suicide. You're playing your game. And sometimes some of the girls will play along for a bit. They're curious and they get bored or whatever, and they get back into the chaos and start playing dodgeball again. But maybe you get a girl who doesn't want to go back to the chaos. She's tired of getting hit in the face and she's tired of trying to hit other people in the face. And she's tired of this game, and she sees your game is more fun. And she likes you. She likes playing the game with you. It's more about you than the game. And you're making the rules, and that's okay. And it's just better than what everyone else is doing. So she sticks around, and she just wants to do that for a while. She doesn't want to go back to the other thing. All right. You win not by being the best at suicide dodgeball, but you win because you don't play everybody else's game. That's how you win in the sexual marketplace. And I'll get into why it applies to surrendering in a second here. We're getting there. All right. So now maybe that dodgeball thing isn't the greatest analogy. I'll work on it, but it's what we got for now, right? So you play the game without playing the game by accepting what you can't control and focusing on what you can control. That's a simple concept. You've heard it before. That's what outcome independence basically is. However, for you to have the relationship that's blissful and happy and euphoric most of the time, despite the divisive nature of men and women being together, that requires taking outcome independence further into surrender and surrendering to that relationship. And I will explain what that means more. And that is the surrender factor. It's taking outcome independence to another level. All right. The surrender factor is where both you and your partner accept the divisive nature of the sexual marketplace and the divisive nature of yourselves and each other, and how you two can be together, how divisive and you could be to each other. And you accept the game and understand that the game of suicide dodgeball, well, that's what everybody else is playing. And you both decide to stop, preferably she'll do it because it's your frame and she really likes you, right? But you both decide to stop trying to win. And you decide to play a different game. And that game is where you stop trying to win and just start being, right? Just be together. All right. You just are, and that's it. And nobody is trying to protect themselves. Nobody's trying to win. Nobody's past trauma and whatever is in their current relationship and causing them to overanalyze or get weird about stuff. Nope. Just let it go and just be. And in that state of being together, if it's both the most sexually arousing as well as blissfully happy and euphoric state you could imagine in those moments that you're with that person and that you're just being, then you've won. You've won by not playing and playing your own game that's better than the game that everybody else is playing, right? And so then you do more of that with that person. Maybe you have to go through a couple people or whatever till you find your grow old together person, but that's what you do. And now, of course, when you're being with that person, if being with that person is not for some reason the best place you could imagine, it's not as euphoric as you'd like, or there's missing pieces, well, then you let each other go and you try again when the right next person worth trying it with comes along. So she surrenders to the relationship by submitting to you. And this is very difficult for women. Most women have trouble nowadays submitting to a man. All right. But if they don't, they can't have this. Sorry, ladies, women who come across this content, this will cause most women to check out right here. Nope. Because the idea of submission for most women is a scary one. And they won't do it. They don't want to do it. But they don't, if they want this, they have to do it. They have to submit. That's part of their surrender, is submitting to that man's leadership. Because if they don't, right, they don't submit. She does not submit to your authority as the masculine leader in that relationship. Then what she is left to do is try to control the relationship. And that control, as soon as control steps in, you're no longer surrendering. And now you're playing dodgeball. All right. So that's what she has to do. And don't worry, guys, you're not left out here. You have to do something too. but that's what she has to do. She has to be able to submit because she is a woman and her natural state is to be with a dominant leader. That is male. That is how we've evolved. Can't get around it. Okay. And so with that, so she'll submit in the bedroom, but then, she won't submit when it comes to other decisions. That's not really fully submitting. And that's not surrendering in the relationship. She has to surrender. Okay. Because if she's not, then she's going to be trying to control things to make sure that she wins. She has to win, right? And once she does that, then you're going to have to win. And now you're right back to playing dodgeball.
Let's face it, if you're a man, then you are probably dealing with problems and challenges with women. Now, I've got some good news and some bad news for you. Your success with women literally boils down to one thing. The bad news is, if you don't have it, nothing else will work. All of the money, good looks, and all of the best pickup and game skills out there will fail without you mastering this one thing. And that one thing is frame. The answers to ending your pain and suffering and to start living an amazing life with women is just one click away. Click the link and let's get started.
So, what do you have to do, guys? Well, you have to surrender to the relationship as well, which I think you're like sitting there going, I don't like that idea of surrender because I'm alpha and alpha men never surrender. Right? That's what you're doing, right? Well, bullshit. And yes, you have to surrender. Now you're not submitting to her in the same way that she submits to you. That's not what it means for a man to surrender the relationship. But what you have to do is you have to stop trying to control everything in the relationship. Leading the relationship is not the same as controlling. And so this is where you stop controlling her behavior. She controls her own behavior. Her problems are her problems. You stop controlling it. You stop, trying to control all of the outcomes and everything that she's doing. And you submit in a sense, but it's to her needs and your responsibilities in your leadership position to take care of her needs. Okay. You want to be in a leadership position. You want to be the big alpha male and lead your relationships. Well, guess what? You got responsibilities to the people you're leading, and you have to make sure their needs are taken care of, and you have to submit to those, which means sometimes that need might be more important than yours in that moment for the success of the relationship. All right. You're still on your mental point of origin. You're still doing what you want to do and all that stuff to be your best version of yourself and all that cool language we use here. But sometimes giving into a need that she has and needs and making that leadership decision is part of going in the direction that you want. And you might have to do that. All right. Well, you're if she's submitting to you, then you are, and essentially, although you're leading, submitting to those needs that she has, because you have now responsibility for those. She's no longer, right, has the authority to make sure all those things are taken care of. Now that belongs to you. Okay. And that means, again, you're not trying to control things, and neither is she. You just lead, she supports, and that's it. She makes her own decisions and the decisions for the relationship as well when you delegate it or when you can't for some reason. That could happen, right? That's when she does it, all right? Leader in that leadership and her support involves a lot of communication and a lot of decision-making skills and a lot of skills in handling your own emotions, handling your own mental state, and understanding your goals and directions. And it doesn't have to involve control or controlling the other person, because you know what? Control, it's an illusion anyway. You don't have it. You think you have control, but you don't. And you never did. And winning, as most people perceive it, that's an illusion too. So That is the surrendering that both of you do and have to do. I'm just going to say both. We're going to talk in terms of man woman monogamy here, but I mean, or not monogamy, but just a single relationship. I'm not going to confound the idea with harems and other things, which do exist and all that. And that can be a thing too, but let's just stick to this simple concept here, right? And that's that you both surrender. And if you don't and can't do it, then what happens is you start trying to control. And once one person tries to control, then the other person's open to injury, so to speak, and they either get harmed, okay, in the process, or they start controlling too. And now you're back to playing dodgeball and you're back to the relationship that everybody else has. And you've all experienced this on a small level. You're in that relationship with that chick you're really into. She's really into you. Maybe you go off on vacation. You have a blissful, wonderful time. You're just being together. No one's controlling, right? And she's submitting to you and your leadership, and you're leading and submitting to her needs. Both of you are giving into the relationship and surrendering. And then you get home and she starts a fight about something, or you start getting anxiety about her doing something and then you freak out or whatever happens. And now you're back, or you get into just old mundane duties. And now you're back to controlling and back to reality, you see. And so people might have glimpses of that submission in moments, but they're never really, most people are always putting up armor and defenses and weaponry, and they're trying to control the relationship, which is why it creates a divisive situation. She's shit testing you. She's trying to take you off your center. You're passing a shit test and push pull and all the stuff we do, right? Because that's how we have to. It's divisive. It's not just like freaking show up and be and bang and have some good times and have some dinner and do something cool and then bang again, right? Like, or whatever you're doing and watch a movie. There's lots of banging that's involved, right? Whatever, right? No. It's this freaking game all the time, isn't it? And that's because men and women, when they go back into their natural states, they're divisive. As a man, you're designed to have the frame. All right. And so when she or you both of you guys get off the rails and start playing dodgeball again, instead of playing shooting baskets, as the man, you need to take it back to just being instead of trying to win, and having her being in a state of trying to win. So there's going to be those times you're going to default to your chimp brains and start trying to win and be divisive together, because that's how you evolved. And what you do as a man with frame is you pull her out of that by not playing that game anymore.